stick it to the man. It was called rock and roll. But guess what? Oh no. The man ruined that too with a little thing called MTV!
Alright guys, I'm gonna have to face one of my greatest enemies, Franchesca Ramsey. I can't, this is gonna be hard for me to do, guys. So just, please help me through with this.
They say imitation is the highest form of flattery, but what happens when it's not so flattering? The more you learn about the world and the people in it, you quickly realize just how beautiful and diverse it is. So where's the line between cultural exchange, appreciation, and appropriation?
There is no said lines, okay? The only thing I can think of where it would actually be disrespectful is if you're making fun of somebody's culture, or if you're claiming that somebody's culture is your own, like you made it up, which pretty much nobody does. I've never heard of that. And it's funny because this whole thing about cultural appropriation is the most anti-multicultural sentiment I've ever heard. I mean, it's insane that you claim to be for multiculturalism, and yet you express one of the most anti-multicultural sentiments ever. But continue, tell us how you get to police what people can and can't do, Franchesca.
And why does it even matter? Here are 7 myths about cultural appropriation debunked. You're just looking for something to be offended by. It's just clothing, hairstyles, decorations, whatever. Don't you have something better to worry about?
Exactly. Why would you worry about something as so small as somebody from another culture using another culture's clothing? Oh my God, Franchesca.
Okay, first off, it's possible to care about more than one issue at a time. The main problem with cultural appropriation comes from dominant groups borrowing from marginalized groups who face oppression or have been stigmatized for their cultural practices throughout history.
So you mean white people using anything that people of other races use? I mean, it's so obvious when you talk about groups in power. You always mean white people, Franchesca. You're trying to hide the fact that you're blatantly racist, but you're not fooling anybody. People of any culture can borrow from any culture they like. Why should there be rules about it? It makes no sense unless you're authoritarian who wants to be in power like you, Franchesca.
Like cornrows. I mean, anyone can wear their hair in cornrows, but black people still face stigmas for wearing them along with perfectly natural hairstyles like braids and locks. There are even companies and schools that prohibit these natural hairstyles. People have actually been fired for wearing braids.
Okay, if this is true, then that's messed up. And that probably actually is racist if they're not allowing black people to wear certain hairstyles. I mean, again, I don't know that that's true, but that actually is racist. But here's the thing. Very few people actually think that, okay? Very few people. You're acting like this is a normal thing that people just take a look at black people like, oh no, you can't wear a certain hairstyle. Look, that doesn't happen on a daily basis.
Meanwhile, fashion models and celebs like Kylie Jenner get praised for wearing cornrows. And that's the main point. One group is being penalized by institutions for wearing natural hairstyles, while the other is called edgy and stylish for doing the exact same thing.
It's probably different groups of people who are calling them these things. You do realize that, right, Franchesca?
I'm doing it because I think it's beautiful and exotic. I'm just showing appreciation for the culture. Look, it's great that you find another group's culture beautiful, but in order to show you truly love it, you need to have respect and understanding.
Right, because you can't just appreciate a culture like any normal person. You have to do it in a specific way that for some reason you, Franchesca, think that you have the authority to dictate. Oh my God, just Franchesca's one of the worst people ever to exist. She's just so awful.
Take, for example, tribal tattoos. The Maori of New Zealand have facial tattoos with deep family meaning and cultural significance.
And guess what? They're not the only people who have tattoos. So many cultures have had tattoos. Native American cultures, the Maori culture, like you've said, African cultures, Asian cultures, European cultures. Like, there's so many different cultures that have had tattoos. That's just like a thing that happens to be shared by many cultures. It's not for any specific culture to own because really no culture started having tattoos. That's just been a thing pretty much everywhere in the world.
But fashion designer Jean-Paul Gaultier used the tattoos in ads to sell sunglasses. And that's a perfect example of cultural appropriation. No matter how much the designer liked the look, he stripped the tattoo of all of its cultural meaning just to sell a product.
Oh my God, it's so evil. People are using tattoos to sell things? I mean, come on, like who cares? Honestly, Who cares? So what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to go, oh, I respect all people of the Maori tribe. Let's just bow down to all people and thank all of them for these tattoos. Because honestly, that sounds kind of racist to me.
Now, if you really appreciate something, you should respect it instead of assuming you can use it however you want.
But you can use it however you want. The only way would really be bad if you're making fun of it, if you're saying that you made it up and you didn't. But even so, you have the freedom to do that still. It just makes you a mean person. Like, Franchesca, why do you have to dictate specifically how people can use culture? I don't get it. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares besides you? I'm sure there's not some Maori person going, oh my god, somebody used tattoos to sell sunglasses. I'm so offended.
Well, I don't find it offensive, and I asked someone from that culture, and they said it was okay.
That proves that not all people of that culture would hate other people using that culture. I think Jeff Holiday mentioned this in one of his videos, but he said that he'd never met a Mexican from Mexico who had a problem with a white person wearing a sombrero. But there are plenty of white people who think that's offensive. Like, it's so racist, Franchesca, that you're stereotyping entire groups of people, entire races, infantilizing them, basically, as all these sensitive little babies who can't take somebody appreciating their culture and borrowing a bit of that culture. And guess what? If somebody borrows a bit of your culture, Franchesca, you have the absolute freedom to borrow a bit of their culture. That's what multiculturalism is.
Well, it's not your culture that's being disrespected, so sure, you don't find it offensive. And if you know someone from that background who doesn't mind your tattoo, costume, or whatever, that's cool. But remember that one person doesn't speak for all members of that community.
Because the majority of members of that community must be such little offended little babies. Oh my god. Again, this is so infantilizing and racist, Franchesca. I can't.
Whatever. Fashion, art, film, music always borrows from other sources.
Exactly! Of course it does! That's how we progress things. That's how we create new things. We can't advance culture if we don't get influences from other culture. Otherwise it would just be the same thing over and over and over again.
Plus, it doesn't hurt anyone.
And again, it doesn't hurt anybody. Francesca.
Sure, cultural exchange has been going on since the beginning of time. But exchange is mutual and needs to be done respectfully. A couple years ago, Katy Perry did a geisha-themed performance with Japanese women dancing in the background. Not only was it super stereotypical, her outfit wasn't even from the right country.
Oh my god, it wasn't even Japanese. Oh my god, if anything, that makes Katy Perry look stupid and kind of ignorant about Japanese culture. That doesn't do anything to harm Japanese people. It's not like there's some Japanese person going, oh my god, I'm so offended. Like, I know plenty of kids who are from other countries. I go to school where there's a lot of international students, and they really like American culture, and a lot of the American kids are interested in their culture, and they'll talk about their culture a lot. Like, they don't care that if somebody else appreciates their culture. In fact, they actually like it that somebody appreciates their culture. Like, again, you're infantilizing these people, Franchesca.
The Japanese American Citizens League said it best. The thoughtless costuming and dance routines by Katy Perry played carelessly with stereotypes in an attempt to create a Japanese aesthetic. And that kind of crushes the idea that appropriation is harmless.
So some group of Japanese Americans who were probably brainwashed, butthurt SJWs like you, got offended by a routine done by Katy Perry. That shows that there's something wrong with them, not with Katy Perry, the fact that they care about such little things. Again, this is infantilizing Japanese people and assuming that all Japanese Americans or Japanese people are all just so offended that they can't take a Katy Perry routine. Oh my...
You're just trying to tell everyone what to think.
Exactly, Franchesca. You're an extreme authoritarian. You're even more of an authoritarian than most SJWs are.
Hello, thought police. Have you ever heard of the First Amendment? Nobody's telling you what to think, wear, or say. Marginalized people can't stop you from doing your thing, even if they wanted to.
Well, except you want them to stop.
But if you think you have the right to use any cultural tradition just cause, that's where you get into oppressive territory.
Again, who is going to be hurt by this? I mean, the only thing, like I said a billion times, that I could really understand somebody being offended is if somebody was mocking somebody's culture or if they were pretending that they invented it. I mean, and she's saying this specifically for white people came to mind. She's not talking about anybody who's not white using white culture or any other culture that's not there. She's only talking about white people using culture that's not theirs. I mean, how racist is that? Oh, I'm gonna control you, but only if you're white.
And if you genuinely don't care if someone is hurt by your appropriation, that's just crappy. So because I'm white, I'm automatically racist. And if I wear this clothing, I'm even more racist?
Yes, you're very much in the camp that believes that all white people are racist, Franchesca. Sorry to break that to you. I mean, I know you're gonna backpedal and backtrack, but you've said things pretty much assuming that all white people are racist, Franchesca, so don't try to get yourself out of this one.
This isn't about beating up on white people. Anyone can appropriate elements of marginalized cultures. Heck, Pharrell even made the mistake of wearing a Native American headdress on the cover of Elle magazine.
Oh my god, what a horrible mistake. A black guy is wearing a Native American headdress. Oh my god. Again, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? It's not like some Native American is looking at headdress and going, oh my god, I'm so offended. I can't take this. It's so infantilizing, Franchesca. And you say this isn't about beating up on white people. That's exactly what you've been doing this entire video. You even showed that little cartoon of a white person taking something from a quote-unquote marginalized group. You're saying that white people are the people in power, so that they can't take anything from marginalized groups. You are beating up on white people, Franchesca.
And after getting some much-deserved flack, he actually issued an apology. If Chinese people wear blue jeans, aren't they appropriating my culture? Or what about black girls wearing blonde weaves? Or how about speaking English?
Exactly, Franchesca. But, of course, you're gonna hold this double standard that only white people can do cultural appropriation, of course.
Okay, this is a tough one. Assimilation and appropriation aren't the same thing. Marginalized people conforming to standards set by dominant, or in this case, Western cultures, is often a means of survival. When your cultural heritage is looked down on, often people change or hide things about themselves in order to be accepted by majority culture.
Oh my god, the poor, marginalized groups being interested in another culture. They're not doing that to survive. I mean, I don't know anybody who looks down on any other culture or race. Like, come on. Yes, I'm sure there's some very racist white people who look down on black culture or Asian culture or something like that. But that's not like a normal thing. That's not a majority opinion. So what you're saying about how other cultures have to survive by adopting majority culture is just ridiculous. And what if a white person goes to Thailand and they're really interested in Thai culture and they start adopting Thai culture? Are they then surviving in Thailand? Like, does this apply to other countries? You do realize that the world is not just America, right?
For example, there are schools where students have been punished or even suspended for speaking Spanish or indigenous languages. So there are people who are literally being forced to assimilate or else.
Actually, this is a really interesting topic because actually at my school, like I said, there are a lot of international students. There's a rule that they have to speak English. And the reason for this is to help them adapt by speaking English. It's not that their language is bad. It's not that they're somehow bad for not speaking English. It's to get them comfortable with speaking English. Because many of these kids eventually want to live in America. And so they need to be good at speaking English and be used to speaking English and be comfortable with that. It's like when I go to my Spanish class. And we're supposed to speak Spanish the whole time. Why? To get me comfortable with speaking Spanish, so I can learn Spanish. Okay? That's usually not meant to oppress people. I've never heard that being used to oppress people.
So it's not really a fair comparison. So you're saying I should never enjoy another culture? That's not fair. Not at all. For example, say you're invited to an Indian wedding and you're not Indian. Wearing a traditional sari or getting henna would be a great example of cultural exchange. You're being invited to participate and enjoy the culture instead of just picking and choosing parts of it for yourself.
So you have to get permission. Oh my god, so you have to go up to an Indian person and ask, hey, can I put henna on my hands? Oh my god. It's so, again, like I said, it's so patronizing, it's so infantilizing to think that you have to ask permission from another person. I mean, I know that there are some audience members here who aren't white. I mean, like, how would you feel if somebody went up, oh, can I have permission to use your culture? Like, oh my god.
You can also travel, take cooking classes, read books, listen to music, and visit museums if you really want to learn about and enjoy other cultures. Here's the thing. Cultural appropriation is about a privileged group misrepresenting and disrespecting marginalized cultures.
So in other words, only white people. So, oh my god, you said it wasn't about beating up on white people. You said that Pharrell was doing cultural appropriation, but according to you, he's in a marginalized group. So how is that cultural appropriation? Oh, you're not making any sense.
The originators rarely get credit, but always deal with the consequences.
What are the consequences anyway, Franchesca? How is anybody hurt by this? Please explain in a tangible way how somebody is hurt by that. Unless it's like with a patent, when you steal somebody's invention, nobody's actually hurt by this.
The goal isn't to shame you out of wearing or enjoying certain things.
It's exactly what it is. You're trying to implement authoritarian policies. That's what you're doing. You want social control.
But listening to the people from the culture you're interested in shows you have a genuine love, respect, and understanding for something that's not your own. So what are some misconceptions you've heard about cultural appropriation?
When I was told at my school not to do cultural appropriation with Halloween costumes, that's my experience with it. With people dictating what you can wear on Halloween. Okay, if that's not authoritarian, I don't know what is.
Or maybe you had some misunderstandings yourself. Tell us in the comments below, and we'll see you next week here on Decoded. In our last vlog, we talked about student loan debt with Ben O'Keefe. Here's what you had to say. Oh, Shokahase, you don't have to pay for college? Way to rub it in. No, really, I wish we did that here. You know, Andrea, free college would be awesome, but I will totally settle for affordable and no crushing debt. Actually, Assassin Surreal, I use the skills I learned getting my degree almost every single day.
What skills did you learn in college, Franchesca? Gender studies? Like, I don't, you could, oh my god, like, what skills do you have, other than being black, basically, that make you worthy of being on this awful racist show?
But trade school is a great option for lots of people. Our last sketch was all about white-splaining, and since I have the talking stick, I'm gonna respond to your comments. You know what, Paul? I agree with you. Everyone should have equal freedom of speech no matter their skin color. But that's not what our video was about. It's about not talking over people because that's rude.
But if a black person talks over a white person, then that's not bad, right, Franchesca? The hypocrisy is astounding.
Ever heard of being rude? Thanks, BGC. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. And keep watching, because you might like the next one. Oh, Antoine, a YouTube Oscars would be awesome. Not just because you think we would win, but because I just want to get dressed up.
So to conclude, this video was utter cancer, and I'm just freaking out right now because that was so bad. But yeah, you can borrow elements from whatever culture you want. You don't need to ask permission for it or anything ridiculous like that, because sharing people's cultures is all about feeling free to borrow elements of people's cultures, and that's just something that I don't get why these people don't understand. Although I think they actually do understand it, but they just want to be authoritarians and have excuse to dictate what people can and cannot do. So I barely survived through that, but as always, thanks for watching.
Feel the funk blast!